Welcome everyone to our webinar today on the Adult Education Entrepreneur Showcase. And we're so glad that you are here. And it's great to see everyone who is attending from places across the country. I will ask you please to introduce yourself in the chat if you have not already. It's great to see where people are from. I'm Steve Schmidt. I'm the COABE Professional Development Coordinator, and so glad that you are with us this afternoon for this exciting webinar on the Adult Education Entrepreneur Showcase. We will have a number of presenters today. And before we get into our webinar, would love it if you I want to thank Essential Education, who is our sponsor today. We really appreciate Essential Education and their long-standing partnership with COABE and making it possible for today's webinar. Just a few housekeeping chores before we get started. And the first is if you have questions of any of our panelists today, please go ahead and put those in the Q&A, which you'll find on the toolbar there at the bottom of the screen in Zoom, and put your questions in the Q&A. Any comments that you'd like to make, you can go ahead and put those in the chat. Everyone who attends the webinar today will receive a certificate that will be sent to you 24 hours at the end of the webinar, and other materials, the recording will be available 48 hours later. So, without further ado, I know we have an action-packed webinar this afternoon, so I want to turn things over to Dr. Cheryl Ayers, who is the COABE Entrepreneur Institute professor, among many other things that she does. And we are so delighted to have you and the team who is presenting with you today. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayers. I want to turn things over to you.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's an honor to be with you all today. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and be pretty quick about my part. I've got the first 10 minutes, and then I want to get out of the way for our dynamic speakers. So I'm Cheryl Ayers. I work at Virginia Tech as my day job. I'm an economics professor, and I also wear the hat of an education consultant, always in the disciplinary fields of economics, personal finance, and entrepreneurship. And I have the privilege of working with a variety of organizations nationwide, COABE admittedly being one of my favorites. So today we're going to talk about the Institute briefly, and then the certification exam, and then I'm going to turn it over to our main speakers for today from the International Institute of Minnesota. You're in for a really exciting treat. This is probably one of the flagship, shiniest stars in our nation in terms of having gone through the COABE Institute and created an 8-week course for immigrants who have, and I don't want to steal all of the spectacular work, but a 98% pass rate on the U.S. entrepreneurship certification exam. So it's a phenomenal program. So just a quick reminder, COABE makes these webinars available in their archive location on their website. So this will be the 5th one that I've done, anywhere from introducing adult educators and service providers to bridges and IETs to correctional programs. So do go back, and I think you just need an account to access some of the webinars we've done previously. So today, though, I want to focus very quickly on the Institute and then the credential that's aligned with the Institute for adult learners. The Institute itself, so in my day job as professor, I don't necessarily teach this way, but for professional development, I think it's important not to waste your time, right? Because you already have a day job. So I try to teach the entrepreneurship content at the same time as you're reviewing those 400 plus resources that I hope you'll turn around and use with your students. So it's kind of that 2-for-1. You're reviewing pedagogical, andragogical strategies and resources to learn the entrepreneurship content. So really quick, we just wrapped up part A. It's typically in the fall, and then we take a break. You can see that's the entrepreneurial mindset, and a lot of states are moving away from more generic workforce readiness skills and integrating this entrepreneurial mindset, because I think one of the greatest misconceptions is that people think, oh, well, we don't have any students, although I bet you do, that are interested in starting a business. But even if that's the case, the entrepreneurial mindset is what employers are looking for in new hires in this, what we call the innovation and gig economy. So that part A really is more of a workforce readiness Institute, but it also, of course, translates into starting one's own business. And so the participants, which might be you, hopefully sometime in the future, you create an actual lesson where you're integrating the entrepreneurial concepts, but you're also integrating other subjects like math, science, whatever you might be teaching through GED or HSE, and workforce-based activities. And then part B is more of the nuts and bolts. So part A is more philosophical underpinnings of entrepreneurship. Part B is more old school, still important, where you leave part B with a first draft of a business plan. And I'll say that some educators actually go on to start their business. It's that thorough. And you can actually do part B before part A. They work congruently, but certainly the order is not important. And we are accepting registrations, and I'll leave you with that at the end of today's webinar. So really quick, the resources are free. There's actually a free entrepreneurship textbook that for teachers and students that you can change the literacy level for. It's always about using entrepreneurship. If it's not a standalone course, how do you integrate it into literacy programs? And you're going to see an amazing example of that today. There's opportunities for breakout groups with people around the nation, and I'll say around the globe as well, for collaborating so that we're not all reinventing the wheel. And Lynn has been nice enough to share her syllabus for this amazing 8-week course she's going to run you through. And then there's always guest speakers who come in and share the lessons learned. Sometimes, and one of our speakers today from Lynn's program started a tea business, and you'll hear his amazing success, but he was a guest speaker at the Institute. And there is that option for, believe it or not, graduate credit or undergraduate credit for $135. So if you're familiar with tuition costs, you know that's a deal. So just real quick, to get you warmed up for today, we do have quite a few adult educators who are generally teaching ABE, ESL, ESOL, depending on the state you're in. And you can see here that the average score in those programs alone is an 84% on the U.S. Entrepreneurship Certification exam. And then the pass rate is 87%. Across the country. But you'll see here today, Lynn and her team's success rate is 98%. I can't underscore how amazing that is. And I think you probably know that a lot of immigrants want to start businesses. They've already had businesses in the countries from which they came. In fact, 22% of all self-employed U.S. residents are immigrants. So it's really important to make that available to students. And then just quickly about the exam. So when I created the exam, and I also created the Institute in combination with industry and academic leaders. So the Institute is aligned with the exam so that when you go through the Institute, you have what you need to teach entrepreneurship or integrate it within existing programs and or teach a standalone course as Lynn has done. So they're very well connected. And you can see here a lot of community colleges. I'm working currently with Indiana. And Lynn has also been able to get this started in her state. So some of the colleges and universities are accepting this exam from adult education and workforce development programs as prior learning credit. So that's really exciting as an incentive to have your students sit for that exam. And it's written and endorsed and approved by a lot of folks around the country. And you can see there the partners and the industry leaders that have signed off on it. So last thing I'll say is the exam resources package. I just get a lot of feedback, and it makes me so happy to hear. It is pretty impressive in and of itself. So the study guide is a curriculum framework, and it's also a self-study. So if you're in a position where you can't necessarily offer entrepreneurship currently, just email me and I'll remind you of this at the end, and I'll share the resources package with you, because that 28-page curriculum framework could also be what your students use to self-study. There's 2 practice exams written on 2 different literacy levels. There's a vocabulary list. The reading guide is aligned with that free entrepreneurship e-textbook that you use in the Institute. But again, you should be using it with your students as well. And then the exam manual has all of the traditional things that you might want to know. And I'll say that, so CTEX is the administrator along with who's called Pittsco Education. And they always ask me to approve the accommodations that come through, but we're very happy to accommodate. So currently you have 90 minutes to take the exam, but a lot of my ESOL educators, they need 3 hours. We are very happy to allow even translators to sit with students during the exam. So we trust the educators, but all of that comes through me. So you're welcome to run things by me as you're thinking about administering the exam in your area. So that's it for me. Lynn, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for that introduction. And thank you for inviting us to share our program here today. And thank you to COABE for hosting this webinar. We're super excited to be able to share what we've been able to develop at the International Institute of Minnesota. We are a nonprofit organization that has served refugees and immigrants since 1919. And one of our areas of focus at the International Institute is workforce development and career pathways. So the entrepreneurship program fits within our business pathway. I did see a comment in the chat already if someone asked if you've developed an IET. This is an approved IET class in the Minnesota, and so we were able to achieve that through following the channels of getting an IET approved. Um, and so this is our team. Our team consists of myself. I'm the program manager. And then Mohammed, who is our instructor, and Carrie, who is our navigator. And you will hear from both of them throughout our presentation today. Next slide. All right, so eligibility for our classes. One is you have to be born outside of the US. All of our participants and clients at the International Institute were born outside of the US, and this fits within our mission of assisting new Americans in achieving self-sufficiency and full membership in American life. We believe that immigrants bring a wealth of knowledge, experience, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit to the US, and we want to help and support them in those endeavors. So that's a big part of our mission here. Students also need to have an ABE, English level 2 or above. They also need to pass a Google Docs assessment, which we do through North Star Digital Literacy. We have found that making sure the students have the digital literacy skills that they need to be successful in this class and as an entrepreneur is really important before they start this class because it's a short class, 8 weeks, and so we don't have time to stop and teach a lot of the digital literacy skills that they might need. They all have to be adults and they all have to be able to attend all classes. So attendance is very important, mostly because it is a short class and we deliver a lot of content in a short amount of time. And we want to make sure our students have their schedules cleared enough so that they are able to dedicate the time necessary to be successful in this class. And then they just need to have a desire to start a business, or maybe they've already started a small business and they need some more support and help in that business endeavor. This is really important because throughout the class, they're going to be using that business idea or that business concept to complete their homework assignments and to really understand the concepts of entrepreneurship. We found it's really important for them to be working with an actual business idea that maybe they will implement, maybe they won't, but it's much easier to understand if you're using it in some kind of relevant context. And then the dates and the times, we've played around with this a little bit since the beginning of the program, but we've really found that evenings and weekends are the most accommodating for adult learners' schedules. And so most of the time we'll have maybe 7 Saturdays in a row where they're meeting from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Or we will do a Monday and a Wednesday evening where one day is in person and one day is online. So really trying to make it accessible to our adult learners. All right, next slide. I'm going to turn it over to Mohammed, who's going to talk through a little bit of the academic content. And I just want to say that a lot of the content from this class and all of the resources that we use did come from Cheryl's COABE Entrepreneurship Institute. So we give a lot of credit to her for that. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Thank you, Lynn. This class is really very interactive. The nature of this class is we do a lot of group activity during the class. As Lynn mentioned, this is 7-week long class, and the entrepreneurs themselves bring a lot of experience. Some of them, they have already owned business, but they don't know how to establish a business here in the United States. So we teach them the ways, and we teach them the things that they need. The topics include, but not limited to, what you are seeing from the screen right now, starting from vision, mission, value proposition, all the way to creating their own pitch and, presenting their own ideas. So these are really hands-on class, which students learn from each other. They work in a group, and they work individually as well. And students work within their business ideas as they are working through and developing their aspect of the business plan, and working together and getting feedback from one another. What I do during the teaching is I encourage them to network. I encourage them to start networking. And this is a very supportive environment. This is a safe environment in which they see a similar student in the class who can generously give them some feedback, very positive feedback, and they can ask questions without fear. And they don't feel intimidated. They don't feel that they are missing anything. They see everyone, and everyone contributing, and everyone having an idea that they can borrow from one another. So this is a very safe environment, and they work on their project, their business plan from day one all the way to the end. Next slide. And in the practical content, the business plan, we give them weekly assignment, but the business pitch is a new concept for students who come from overseas. This idea of standing in front of a group of panel and pitching their business idea needs some kind of motivation. And what we do is we teach them how to make their business pitch very effective, very good looking, and how to build a good looking presentation. And we give them a very safe environment to practice. And we have a group practice together. And there is a 1 week or 2 week of preparation and practice and rehearsal, how to each one of them, because they have a unique idea, unique business plan, and unique business idea, how to put this in a presentation way that a person who doesn't know anything about their business plan can easily understand, and they can easily comment and give them a feedback. And then to do, to make everything come together, we use a practice exam at the beginning of the class, in which we give them, the students, from day one, an exam, a practice exam that gives us a baseline and helps them know which business words and concepts, vocabulary, and business lingo they need to use, they need to understand, and then they need to pay attention of all these business language and vocabularies. And then we found out that by giving them this practice exam, the students gain and they increase their score at the final exam at least on an average by 20 percentage point. So this is a very well use of their time, use of their knowledge. And what we do during the class is we give them a presentation based on that subject, on that topic, on that day, and then we stop and then we ask the class pre-prepared questions that we look and answer, and then they contribute. And then I interject, and then we continue to allow the class to ask a question to each other, depending on that topic on that day. Thank you.
Great. And now our business navigator, Carrie, is going to talk a little bit how we connect our students to resources and the importance of that.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to present. We're excited about our program and the success of our students. So I am the navigator, which means I get the privilege of working with each student from the time they register for the class, and we do, a little interview, all the way for the next, sometimes two or more years, to help them graduate from the class and then form their business or grow their existing business. In the beginning, I work with them on an education plan. And this is sort of like an interview where I get to know each student. And this has been so valuable to, I think, for me to get to know the student, but also for the student to define their goals, to really think about the type of business they want to form and why. Then as we go through the class, I work with them on the assignments, any questions they have, and everything is related to the business that they have in mind. So they always have lots of questions of the material we're covering and how it works in the real world. But the second half of the class, I'm really working with each student, and Mohammed also is meeting with students to develop their pitch. The pitch, as Mohammed mentioned, is their final presentation. It's their final project to complete for the class. And first thing I've found interesting is that many people in our classes they're not familiar with the business pitch, the kind of Shark Tank presentation, business type of presentation where you're really trying to show you have a good business idea. So we spend a lot of time talking about the pitch and what it is and what they're trying to convey. When I meet with the students to work on their pitch, what actually comes out is a lot of work on their business, how it can be viable, getting into the details that they may not have considered. And just that exercise of doing a very short 5-minute presentation at the end is the culmination of so much work and thought that they have to go through to get that presentation ready. And then the business pitches, the way we do it is we bring in community partners. They form panels. So each panel may have something like 5 students and 3 or 4 panelists who are business people from the community. And they listen to the pitches and give our students feedback. And we hear every semester how valuable this process is for learning. Let's see, right after graduation, so in between classes, what I'm doing is organizing field trips to some of our community partners. I've done a lot of outreach to find other entrepreneur support organizations in our community that our students can tap into. So we go visit in person. We have workshops where we bring in community partners for focused topics. So we've done, legal matters, legal considerations for business, business structures and taxes, business taxes, accounting, business plan, forming, completing your business plan. And part of the business plan that we work on in class is those financials, especially the cash flow projection, kind of thinking about what the expenses are and what the possible revenue might be for the particular type of business. We also try to reach out to people in specialized fields, food service, healthcare, coffee importing, and so on. We've had just about every type of business idea from our students. Let's see. And then we emphasize networking, building your business network is a very essential part of being an entrepreneur. So starting in the class, when we bring in the guest speakers, they're getting a chance to meet people and network. And then once a year, we organize a small business resource fair. The focus is immigrant businesses. And the purpose of the fair really, in my mind, is twofold. One is learning and education, and the other is networking, meeting those entrepreneurs and the organizations that support them in our community. So we have kind of three parts. We have a panel, like any conference, we have maybe 4 or 5 immigrant entrepreneurs, and they have a discussion, and participants get a chance to ask them questions. Then we do breakout sessions on some of those specialized topics led by the community partners, different community partners. And then we invite as many organizations to come and have a table at our resource fairs so that our students and graduates can walk around and talk to these organizations and make connections that way. I think that's everything.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. So just to kind of build off of what Carrie was saying, that, this is an 8-week class, and we've said many times it's short. We're able to deliver the content and the knowledge that they need to know, but there's a lot of work after that, obviously. So we've come up with a couple of metrics to help us measure the student success in that way. And our program goals would mean that we want to see students progressing towards their business goals. And so Carrie works with them to set these different goals, and we've come up with these different areas that are going to be necessary for them to have a successful business. It's also helpful for the students to see, like, these are the steps that I need to take, and kind of those things, the in-between steps between having an idea, taking a class, and actually starting your business. And so we're happy to say that in fiscal year 25, 67% of our students have achieved at least one goal. And then we've had 9 businesses start since the beginning of the program. So we also have a number of students who had businesses when they entered the program. And so those aren't included here. These are only businesses that have had their name registered with the state and have made at least one sale after they took the entrepreneurship class. So we're super proud of all these students and excited to promote the businesses that they have started. Next slide. So there's always lots of questions about how do you fund this? Our program is 100% free for the students. And so how do we do that? How are we able to accomplish that? So starting, since forever, we've demonstrated there is a demonstrated need for entrepreneurial education, especially in the immigrant community. And so we heard that from our students over and over again, that they want to start businesses, or that they've started businesses and they don't know what to do. They can't break out of. This is one of the big things is a lot of immigrants start businesses and then they serve their immigrant community, but being able to break out of that into the larger market seems to be a challenge sometimes. So we wanted to continue to help our students achieve that economic mobility that they deserve. So we saw that need. And in 2023, we got an IELCE grant. IELCE is Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education. So maybe, I don't know if maybe some of you have that in your state. It is a federally funded grant. And we use that for curriculum development. So that's where I went to Cheryl's, the COABE Entrepreneur Institute, and got all my curriculum ideas. And then in 2024, we started the program with private donors to fund the instructor position. And then we were also able to get a Minnesota State education grant to continue funding that instructor. And this is where we also started that work with developing the credit for prior learning with the Minnesota State colleges for specifically for passing the U.S. entrepreneurship exam. So that was pretty exciting to do. And then in 2025, we secured a DEED grant, which is the Department of Employment and Economic Development in Minnesota. And so this has been super exciting because career pathways for so long have been into a specific industry or a certification into those top 5 job markets out there. And so this is the first time in Minnesota that they've been funding entrepreneurial programs. So we're super excited. And I think this is just the beginning of it. I think, like Cheryl said at the beginning, that people are seeing that these are the skills that you need to be successful in the workplace, whether or not you're starting your own business or not. So continuing moving forward, we are super lucky to be in the state of Minnesota. We have a Minnesota state reimbursement for ABE contact hours of $10 an hour. So that's in addition to the federal reimbursement rate for ABE contact hours. And then we also combine that with our workforce development grants and private funding in order to make sure our program is sustainable in the future. Great. So now the exciting part, I'm going to turn it over to one of our program graduates, Manoj. He was in our first cohort, and Manoj is going to tell you his story about his company.
Hello.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today to share my journey as a graduate of entrepreneurship class and how is the helping me run my business, Himalkoti. My name is Manoj Yadav and I'm the co-founder and president of Himalkoti, a company dedicated to bring the high quality organic tea sourced from Nepal to tea lover around the US. When I first entering the entrepreneurship class, I had an idea, but not a fully understanding how to turn into the sustainable business. The class gave me the fundamental I needed, like teaching me how to research market and developing the strong business plan, and most important, stay the resilient when doesn't go as a plan. Can I go the next slide? I learned from that class is the major thing is like networking, like how can make the network. Like when I'm into that class, I have a like my packaging is the like a different kind of, but when I'm into that class, I presenting one day like our tea and one like forget the name, like he's saying your tea is very good, but you have to change the packaging. Then I changed the packaging, but now have a, like one of the best packaging our tea. And also like I learned like how can written down the business plan. Also like business plan is very important for here, because of if you need like funding anything else need, then you have to show the business plan. Can I go the next slide? Okay, this is my picture. Like I just went like 2 3 months ago in Nepal, and I also meet in the like farmer in Nepal to like also increase like more more like variety of the tea, and I went there to taste some of the tea sample in Nepal. Its location is Ilam, and our main mission is to like bring the rich flavor and health benefit our the Himalayan origin tea all over the US and ensure the quality and authentic. And our vision is to because of the world is a landing source of the sustainable Himalayan tea and making the organic wellness accessible to all of us. Can I go to the next slide? Yeah, this is the all of the tea variety. Like either tea have like a different kind of variety, like a black tea, green tea, oolong tea, and white tea. This is the main of the, and also have like is a herbal tea. Those are kind of have a tea. And the tea, the unique because of like is the high altitude source in Nepal, is the Mount Everest in Nepal. That's the reason is our tea have like different kind of taste and all is the organic. And our teas like all source from direct I buying from the farmer. I have a one also friend who like production in tea in Ilam, and also like is the like have like a lot of the benefit for the team, but I just showing like couple of the thing like health, like this also boosting your immunity, like antioxidant, have a like high antioxidant. Those are things. Can I go to the next slide, please? And this is the our like tea have a we selling also like different kind of like a tea ware. They have a like couple of the picture, and this is the our like website barcode, and also like currently going the deal. If you want anyone like try the tea Nepali kind of tea, you can go and just scan the QR code and just try the tea. And thank you so much for everyone giving that opportunity to presenting our like tea. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manoj. And so now I'm going to introduce Moira, and she's going to talk about her business, Peace on Earth Living, and her experience with the entrepreneurship program.
Hi, thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone, for having me this afternoon. I will be sharing a little bit about my business and also a little bit about my history and my journey. So, my business, oh, am I?
You're good. You can turn on your camera if you want. But now you have to unmute yourself too. Oh no.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.
um, so, my business is called Peace on Earth Living. We are providing compassionate residential assisted living services in a diverse home-like environment. A little bit about myself. My journey in healthcare is driven by my single vision to exceed the standard of care and provide personalized support that treats each resident like family. I am originally from Haiti. I immigrated at the age of 4 after my father, after he became a US citizen. He filed for my mother and I to enter the US, and that's where it began, my journey of resilience and determination, to become successful and also be able to provide for myself and my family. In 2008, after graduating nursing school, a year later, I started my service to the veterans population in the VA in New Jersey. That's where I developed a deep commitment to honorable and compassionate care. I have been working at the VA for 17 years. And through my experience with working at the VA, I have served in the emergency rooms. Uh, Outside the VA, I also moonlighted in correctional facilities, also veteran homeless veteran programs, as well as primary care and specialty care. Throughout working over a decade, I have, spent time refining my skills in um, uh, adult and geriatric care. I am dual certified in both of these fields. Though, that's where my passion lies. What makes Peace on Earth different? We are we are setting a higher standard of care. We are more than just an assisted living. We are bridging the gap between a medical facility expertise and the comfort of being home. Many times you find that assisted living facilities they're owned by, big companies, but I had the vision to um, start have my business where I am the nurse practitioner, the provider, as well as the owner, driving, using my clinical expertise to drive my vision. And through that vision, I am able to, put my heart in everything that I do. I have 14 years of gerontological experience. Um, Through that, I founded on over a decade of deeply understanding the complex needs of the aging population. My business also we believe in personalized patient focused care. We move from beyond the facility mindset to create a warm environment where residents are not just clients, but they are also family. They are also treated like family. Care plans that we provide, that I usually pilot, are tailored to the individual dignity and comfort of our clients. We believe in clinical led oversight, hands-on clinical environment involving specializing in wound care, diabetic management, advanced respiratory care, oxygen therapy, and daily health monitoring. Next slide. So, growing the vision. So my vision, the journey from a home-based care provider to a scalable senior community living environment. So through when I started as having an adult foster care in Minnesota. I had that for 4 years. I dedicated myself to providing care for clients with disabilities, all different types of disabilities. And then I hone in on trying to develop the foundation of trust and personal care with them. But I had the ambition, the desire to expand the business, grow it into a more of a structured business where, I can scale it higher. Because I recognize the growing need for a high quality senior care because, as I know that, as the baby boomer population, they're getting older, they need more care. Not everyone wants to be in a big facility with multiple other clients. They're kind of competing for the attention of the caregivers. So I envision my service to reach a wider community. So the challenge was the resource gap. I was good with being a nurse practitioner. However, I needed more support with how do I grow this business. It started out as an adult foster care. How do I grow it to being an assisted living facility, residential facility? Like many founders, I face a significant hurdle: the lack of resources, tools, and structural support needed to scale the business that I had effectively. The solution was, I walked into Minnesota International Institute at a time where I had a lot of family members come from Haiti, and I was doing everything myself. I was, doing all their paperwork, their immigration paperwork, going to jobs to fill out their application, filling, trying to get them housing, medical care. I was, doing it. I was pretty much overwhelmed with all the amount of paperwork that I had to do. And then someone, a friend, said, when I came to Minnesota, I found, Minnesota International Institute to be very helpful. And at that point, I've been living in Minnesota since 2012, and I had not known this resource. And this is back in 2024, when I discovered, the resource through friends. I walked in there and I saw a flyer talking about the entrepreneurship program. At that point, I, signed my family members up for resources in the institute, and I also looked into taking a course at the institute. So through that, I found the essential roadmap, turning a vision into a structured reality. At that point, how I can start going down the road of getting help at the institute to scale my business. So the impact of the Minnesota International Institute, for me, it bridged the gap between clinical expertise and sustainable business growth through comprehensive education and mentorship. Through the program, I was able to find practical resources and tools. I was able to access essential business frameworks, operational templates, step-by-step guidance designed specifically for care providers. Also, I made there was a lot of strategic connections, direct links to the right people, industry experts, and opportunities when they are needed most to overcome obstacles that I had, because I was trying to grow this from a small 3 client family foster care into an assisted living facility. And then the ongoing support, I cannot say enough about how much ongoing support has helped me on my journey. The Institute has a commitment to students' success that extends far beyond the classroom, ensuring guidance is available during real-world implementation. When I took the course, I got the information, but it was outside when the course was done, that's when a lot of the implementation of what I wanted to do in my business really occurred. I met a lot with Carrie Mann, who was able to meet with me where, I needed the assistance, who was able to schedule meetings where, she would, kind of guide me through the whole process, alert me when the Institute was having resources such as attorneys who, specialize in taxes, or just experts that can really, know like how to bring me from one step to the other step. So I am very grateful for having someone I can message, meet with, and ask questions. The Institute links me to the right people when I need it, and I am quite grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Moira. And finally, we have Mamoon, who's here to talk about his company, Alumu. Mamoon, make sure you unmute yourself.
Pardon me. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry for that. Hi, everyone. Good evening or good afternoon, depending on your time where you're joining from. My name is Mamoun Lassouli, an immigrant from the Middle East, and an entrepreneur, a co-founder of Alumu. Alumu is a seed bar inspired by the Mediterranean. Next slide, please. I would like to tell you about how I started with my business with my partner here, making traditional Mediterranean seed bars in our apartment, having craving and not finding them here in the US. And later on, we discovered that seed cycling is a way to manage period, and realized that Mediterranean seed bars, simple way to ease and for hormonal balance. The fun fact is the name Ulumu comes from a Turkish word for celebratory chant that women sound off at wedding. So next slide. We started having Ulumu and making our own bars. Can we go to the next slide, please? So our value proposition for our seed bars are that it's organic, nutrient dense, and it's seed focused, inspired by thousands of years of Mediterranean food as health culture. Next slide. We have a simple flax bar and sesame bar. Next slide. Currently, we are distributing in personal events here in Twin Cities. We've been in major events, including some of them were goals for me to reach, and I had made them accomplished while I was part of the program with the International Institute of Minnesota. I was in the entrepreneurship program last summer, and I was lucky enough to reach to the state fair level and have my product showcase in there. Currently, I'm working on having my Shopify store subscription packaging going and starting my TikTok shop so I can start distributing. And my vision is to be like direct to consumer as long as possible and to make sense to expand. Next slide. And if you'd like to learn more or follow us on Instagram, you can scan the barcode over here. Next slide. So let's switch gear and see what happened behind the scenes. Can we go to the next slide? So even with having those recipes and great idea and creating a product that we loved and the desire to start a business, we didn't know where and what we can do. And I turned to the International Institute to start my business. Next slide. So I would say like what I learned from being within the International Institute, I would say like seeing all of that coming together wasn't an easy thing and it wouldn't be possible without the unconditional support of the International Institute of Minnesota and the Business Pathway program that I was part in, as well as the generous donors and supporters for that program. Getting professional guidance in order to have a healthy business where we can cover topics that can businesses in general struggle with and hurdles to be cleared. And doing that can avoid a lot of losses growing a long time with the time without trying to avoid those hurdles. I would say those costs would be carried over and businesses would fail later on without noticing or having realized those facts. I would say having knowledge about business ecosystem in the US wasn't an easy thing, but with the help of the Institute, I was able to learn more about that and expand my knowledge of the area and the locality of this place. And to say like starting a business from scratch is easier said than done. Scratch is a lot of work behind the scenes. From registering successfully, which I've done while I was still part of that program, learning about how to do it while I'm in the program, to avoiding and to writing my business plan, which would definitely futuristically speaking would help me in getting investments or at least growing that business. And I would say like having a better guidance to learning how to pitch for investors in the future. It was really helpful to be in that program to know the format, the formality of doing that as well. Next slide. What I loved about the program, I would say the diversity of all the nationality and business types in that course. Like it's amazing group of entrepreneurs who surrounds you and positive vibes that it really lifts you up when you are struggling, starting alone, doing a business. And it's really helpful to have that kind of safe environment around you. being able to connect with resources, things that you may think that it may be included or not. Like I wasn't thinking that a language literacy would be added as a resource in addition to financial literacy and tax support. And so it's a full package that there's even things that was there that was very helpful for us as I would say as an immigrant, as an entrepreneur, as a person who would like to continue and grow in this place. Next, I would say the generous feedback and the coaching that we got was really helpful for us. The field visits for partners that I didn't know of was really also helpful for us. Having guest speakers who are connected to the network of businesses here within the Twin City, which is very important for us to have, was there. So next slide. Post program and after we graduated, I would say that the program also haven't ended as the time of the program, but we still get the support after the program. So that's something I would say was very helpful for us, having them connecting me to even grow into a different level and scale my business and how to connect to some banks. I got all of that support from the Institute, which is even something that I was really grateful to have, connecting to other programs and even financially support advancing my continue education in that direction and work on more specific things like financial courses where they supported me to enter so I can expand my business. So I'm really grateful for that. And they invited us also for their events. So I'm very happy to be part of that, the Institute and the program. Next slide. A big thank you from Ulumu to definitely Lynn, Muhammad, and Carrie, and the rest of the team of the International Institute who's not with us today, and to the supporters of this program and all the donors that we don't know all of them, but a big thank you for everyone who contributed to that program. And it really meant a lot for us to ease that journey, and to have all that support means a lot of us. And we grow with your support. Thank you so much. Next.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that is it for our adult educators and entrepreneurs. Thank you all for sharing your stories. And I just want to start wrapping us up, and then I'll turn it over to Steve. So if you haven't already noticed, being an entrepreneur, whether it's being entrepreneurial for an employer or actually starting a business, it's really all about agency and empowerment. And if you're not familiar with the Pursuit of Happiness quote from Chris Gardner, the secret to success is to find something that you love to do so much that you can't wait for the sun to rise to do it all over again. And so, for a lot of us, that's how we feel about our jobs. And I think that's really, as adult education programs, if we can help students find their passion, whether it's, starting a small business or not, that's really not only helping them get ready for the workforce, but to have a quality of life that they'll enjoy. So I do want to encourage you. I would love to see you for Part B business plan so that you can get those resources. And if you're new to business and in particular entrepreneurship being a little bit different, do join us. You will leave with a full business plan. So I do experiential instruction where you momentarily pretend to be your students and you're working through the curriculum and reviewing the resources to prepare for your own instruction, but you're learning the content simultaneously. So do join us. We've got room for about 10 or 15 more people. We average about 50 to 70 adult educators nationwide. So would love to see you there. And thank you all again for joining us. Do reach out to me if you would like, for example, a copy of the Institute syllabus that I teach, or if you would like a preview copy of the entrepreneurship certification exam, I'm happy to send that to you. Or Lynn has been gracious enough to share her 8-week course syllabus. I'm happy to send that to you through an email. So thank you all so much. And I'm going to turn it over to Steve to close us out.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ayers. And if you would please put your contact information in the chat so people can reach out to you, that would be great. We did have several questions, and I think they may be directed to Lynn. And one question was, from Dr. Adria Baker, can this 8-week course be taken online?
Mhm. So we don't offer it online. I'm sure that maybe you could adapt it to, but we find it so interactive and hands-on that we have found it better to be in person. We do offer a hybrid, which is one day in person and one day online. So I think it can be adapted to online. It's just the nature of the learning is so very hands-on that it could be difficult. But obviously, Cheryl does it online. Dr. Ayers does. So,
Another question from Amy Sleep was, you mentioned that this was an approved IET. Does it
mhm.
utilize a co-teaching model?
So I think through the IET process, the co-teaching is just in-house. So we are and because we have so many community partners that are also bringing in their expertise in terms of they could be accountants or lawyers or marketing experts, things like that. Like that is kind of our co-teaching piece to it.
Thank you. And one last question from Lori Weeks. Is the U.S. Entrepreneur Certificate necessary to start a business?
Jump in on that. So, no, it's not required by law to take the exam, but part of the impetus for me writing it with the industry partners is that the last thing we want to do is give adult learners the false sense of security that, oh, anybody can start a business. Well, and that's sometimes the case, right? Same old adage with, oh, not everybody needs a high school diploma. However, 50% of businesses still fail within the first few years, partially because of lack of planning. So I would just say, I sleep better at night knowing that there is an affordable, and there's a couple other competitors on the market up to 4 times more expensive. So this one, if I do say so, will help mitigate the risk of business failure. So I think just for peace of mind to make sure before you send off your adult learners, and this is also taken by high school students through CTE programs nationwide, just to make sure they have a baseline understanding of how to have a successful business.
Well, thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Dr. Ayers, for answering those questions. And thank you for putting your contact information in the chat. I know people will want to reach out to you. Huge thank you, first of all, to our panelists. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayers, and thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Mohammed, and to our wonderful entrepreneurs as well who gave up their time. Thank you, Mamoon and Manaj, so much for sharing your story from Moira as well. Very inspiring to see. Well, thank you all so much for giving your time this afternoon, and thank everyone who attended. And of course, we want to thank our wonderful sponsor today, Essential Education, for sponsoring this webinar. We very much appreciate that. And remember that by attending today's webinar, you will receive a certificate within 24 hours, and then presentation resources will be available 48 hours after the webinar ends. So thank you, everyone. I want to wish you happy holidays, and we look forward to seeing you for our next COABE webinar in January. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.